that meeting I had with him, I probably wouldn't be here tonight. So I just want to talk a little bit about the recruitment process. You're probably all aware there. How many of you are working right now? Excellent, excellent, good. Okay. And the rest at the moment looking for work? Yes, looking for work at the moment? Okay, well, we've got a fair spread. I want to go through the recruitment process so you guys all understand. Even if you're working, you may be thinking about moving on. And first thing that we do, and by going through this, you'll understand how we work and therefore how we can help you. First thing is a job order. So you get a project manager, so to see that, who might actually say, I need a particular skill set, going through experience, culture fit of for the group, technical skills, soft skills and all that. So we need to understand that so we can go away and find that particular skill set. No point in just having the technical skills and not having a personality which would fit the team. So we need to understand that. We then go away and look for people. How do we find the people? We've got an extensive database. Sometimes we do some advertising. One of the things I do a lot of is networking. You know, you guys can find me on LinkedIn. I've got lots of people that connections on LinkedIn. I also use Facebook, believe it or not, for work as well. So don't laugh at that. That is a very, very good tool for recruiting. Then we invite them for resumes, and this is where people start to fall down. A lot of recruiters don't help enough for resume writing. A resume to me is like an invitation to a wedding and 21st. If you don't get the invitation, you're not going to get a look in. You don't get a good resume, you're not going to score an interview. Make sense? Yeah. So one of the things I like to do is go through with the candidate what the resume looks like now, maybe what we could do to touch it up to make it a bit better. Then again, probably half the resumes I see are pretty perfect. So that's not the reason why people miss out on jobs. One of the things which I'm very passionate about is interview preparation. Dr. Charlene about that today. To prepare someone for an interview is just so important because they may have the right skills, they may have the right personality, but in that 45 minutes or 1 hour when they're in front of a hiring manager, a lot of things can go wrong. So what we try to do is help them out by preparing them. We then shortlist the candidates we present to the clients. We prepare the clients for the candidates as well. So we give them a snapshot of what this candidate is all about. And therefore, there are no surprises from either side because we prepare both. So when you get to the interview as a candidate, you've got an idea of what the client is like, assuming that I know my client very well. And from the client's point of view, I've already given them a rundown of what to expect from this candidate. And I go down to the finest details. If I know my clients, I know the interview room. There might be a picture of an elephant on the wall. And you walk around the room and it looks as if that elephant's looking at you. This might sound crazy, right? But it can be a distraction for the candidate. The candidate sits down and sees the elephant on the wall and says, oh yeah, Steve told me that, so therefore it's not a distraction anymore. Because in today's competitive world, where we've got lots and lots of candidates looking for jobs, every little bit that you can distinguish yourself from the rest of the field could be the difference between securing the job or missing out. It's as simple as that. So what we try to do, we're sales guys, I never hide from it. We try to make sure that we both win. Once we place the people in the job, it's very important to follow up. Follow up with the client. Is the person performing? Is the person happy? Go back to the candidate. Is everything the way you want it to be? What are the career aspirations? What are the career opportunities within the organisation? So we continually go through that. So we're in touch with the candidates all the time. And over the last, probably 19 years, but let's say the last 15 years, you can say almost recycled candidates because they come back to me. Ranga, I've known Ranga for how many years?
I think that's 10 years.
Yeah, and you know, I placed him in a job, in a contract role some years ago. We're still in touch. Now, that's the way I like to work. That's the way I work on relationships. And that's what's really important. And I suggest to all of you, whether you're working or not, you need to tap into a recruiter. And you need to do that, not because that person is going to get you every job in your career, but that recruiter should be on the phone all day, every day, and therefore be able to give you salary information, rate information. Where is the IT market going today? What new skills should I pick up? Whether it's going to be in project management, whether it's going to be in technical hands-on skills, okay? And how do we know this? Because we talk to people all day. Whereas you guys are probably so busy doing your job that you don't get a chance to really find out what's out there unless you do some reading on it. And even when you do the reading, a lot of that is a little bit tainted. So, one of the areas that I've been heavily involved in is assisting people who have come from overseas. I would deal with probably 40% of my candidates from India, and the rest would be Sri Lanka, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, not necessarily in order. Yeah, Australia, yeah. There is an enormous amount of people from overseas who've got terrific IT skills and are coming to this country. Why are you coming to this country? Because you choose that for a better life. This is what I'm hearing. I've never been to India, by the way, but this is what I'm hearing. And as a result of that, these people need a lot of help in being able to secure their employment and move in the direction that they wish to go before they leave time. So what I do, I sit down with them because the culture is very different. To sit down for an interview here is, to my understanding, very different to what it is back home. So I go through all that with them. I go through the resumes in details to see how we can get the most out of them. A lot of people from overseas are a little bit shy, introverted, not in their nature, but in the respect of trying to find a job. Okay? Now, a lot of employers like the fact that they want people to be a little bit more open, a little bit more persuasive, right, and get that out of them. So that's something which I try to coach them to do, to get the best out of them. And I understand why they're shy, and I understand why they're introverted, because they don't want to muck it up. So that's an area where I'm very passionate about, and I've been able to help. I think the last one, Ranga, that I did at MIT, about 4 or 5 people who approached me afterwards, and I placed 2 of those. The other 2 got jobs fairly quickly as a result of getting a better understanding of what's out there. Not all recruiters will do that. Everyone's different. Not to say I'm right and they're wrong, but it's just the way they operate. What are the challenges today for people coming from overseas? We've gone through a difficult, probably 18 months in Australia. It was compounded by, and I'm not going to get into politics here, but it was compounded by the fact that we were told there's going to be a general election 9 months down the track. That hit confidence within the country, within the business community, because they didn't know which way it's going to go. As a result of that, a lot of companies put their advancements on hold. And there were more and more people coming in, plus there was a lot of offshoring going on. As a result of that, the ones of you who are not working at the moment probably appreciate where are the jobs. Okay? So what's happened there is that people started to lose a little bit of confidence in themselves. They think, why can't I get a job? I was able to do it 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Believe me, it's most likely not about you guys. It's about the market itself. Okay? It's just that the market is there. Your resumes might be terrific. Your interview techniques might be fantastic, but the jobs are just not out there. Now, the way I see the future is that the job market is certainly going to pick up. I don't expect it to pick up this year. I always look at it, once we hit November, the year's nearly gone. Between mid-December, mid-January, not a huge amount of recruiting happening. There's a lot of planning going on for the new year. So if some of you are looking for work at the moment and you've been looking for a while and you're struggling to find it, don't be too despondent about it. My understanding is from all the conversations I'm having with clients, contractors, all the networking I'm doing, is that the market is definitely going to pick up. All right? So I hope that can bring a smile to some of the people. All right? One of the issues that we have today is that because there's so many people for employers to choose from, that they like to have Australian work experience. And then you guys can ask, well, how can you get Australian work experience if I'm not given the opportunity? That's a challenge. That's a challenge. How do we overcome that? I try to overcome that by actually marketing people in. So if I get to know somebody, and things, for example. Get to know somebody, I can actually go to my existing clients and say, here is a guy I've met, right? And I've put all the ticks in the boxes for him about why I think you should meet. And quite often, that is the difference between it, because otherwise, you're just a resume, just a piece of paper with a name on it, which is in most cases not an Australian name, and they see your work history, you haven't worked in the country, they've got 30 resumes sitting on their desk, and move on to the next one. So it's really important that you can actually get yourself marketed into the organisation, okay? Now one of the things we do, I was speaking to Charlene about it this afternoon, that we try to market you into companies. Even though there's no role, right? Once you understand what you're on about, what you want to do, we can go to our client and say, I've met this really presentable lady, here are her skills, I reckon you should meet with her. And what would come out of that is, no role today, but we'll keep her in mind for future. Now, had she gone through Just Seek, applied for a job, she may get one. It's certainly possible. But then again, she really hasn't got that kind of support for someone to actually back her, who knows her in a professional way. All right, so that's really important. So my message there is when you apply for jobs, see if you can get in front of the recruiters. See if you can get them to get a good understanding of who you are, what you wish to do, where you see yourself in the future, so that person can go and market you. The other thing, salaries and rates have come down. Right? There's no question of that. We've had, I'll give you an example, project managers. 2 years ago, most of them were over on $1,000 a day, quite comfortably, doing a solid job. They were probably working long hours, 45, 50 hours a week. It's a professional day, doing $1,000. Today, it's a demand and supply game. The demand has dropped, the supply of labour has increased, therefore the rates can come down a bit. It's just the way it is, it'll turn around. So again, if you've been out there 3 or 4 years ago and you were on a particular salary or rate, and you think that was great and now I can't get near that, you're just a victim of times. Again, it's not about you. So you just got to understand that it's like vegetables, you know, you get in the off-season, the on-season, and the difference in prices, it's just the way it is. I want to open it up now in two forms, if I may, Tony.
Yeah, sure.
One is general questions. If people got some questions that they don't mind asking in front of everybody. And then at the end of the presentation, when we're all finished, anyone who wants to come and see me on a one-on-one basis, I'll be here to answer questions which perhaps you don't want shared with everybody. So anyone got any questions?
In some of the mentoring, informal and official mentoring I've been doing, in some cases the people are new to Australia, so what you've been talking about. In other cases they've been here for 10 or years or even longer. And one of the questions they've asked my opinion on is whether the fact their name's foreign and their company's foreign, how much that goes against them. So in the tight market that we've got at the moment, where people can pick and choose, do you feel that the fact that people have been in Australia longer, they've got the work experience, whether the fact that it's a foreign name and culture actually goes against them?
No.
So yeah, because that's what I've said.
I'll tell you why. Because we are such a multicultural city, in particular Melbourne, and a multicultural country, that most hiring managers now, even though they might want Australian experience, they're not going to care what the name is. They're going to look at the history of the person, the qualifications, education, and all that. In fact, I think there's probably going to be a greater internal prejudice of gender than nationality. And I'll give a good reason for that. And I can understand it, because quite often I run into that problem. I keep on feeding my clients candidates, but they knock them back. And I say, well, give me the real reason, right? And a common example is we've got a group of 5 guys in the team, right? Go to the pub, they swear, they do all this. Wouldn't it be good to get a female in that, just to settle them down a bit?
Now, you know there are lots of females that go to the pub and swear.
Yeah, I know that. But just a change of gender, or stop talking about footy, whatever it is, right? They cannot specify, we want a female, because that's wrong. Just like they can't specify, we want a particular nationality. So to answer your question, no, they would look at the history. The first thing they might look at is, has the person got Australian experience, which I've covered, but if a person's got 10 years experience, I wouldn't, doesn't matter what the name is.
They're on equal footing, yeah.
Absolutely, equal footing with a John Smith.
Because that's the advice I've given them, but I didn't really have the solid evidence to back
No, that is the case.
So it's good to hear.
Yeah, that is the case. So, you know, guys who've been here from other countries, you've been here for a long time, you're on, to me, you're on equal footing with any Australian. I have no fear about that.
Can I just extend on that?
Yeah.
It's actually interesting. That was an interesting answer. I think there are some prejudices, and sometimes it's actually to our multicultural advantage. We've got a new PMI member. She's come here in about 5 months from Brazil, Spanish name, Spanish speaking, and she found a job in this tight market. 5 months back in the country, she found a job. But she found a job being a translator, Spanish to English. So there are prejudices out there that will actually help you get a job. If you go for financial accounting type roles, PME, that kind of industry, if you're Chinese or an Indian, if you're an Asian background, you probably be picked first over an Aussie person, because traditionally the Asian people are a bit better on the financial kind of basis. So I think there are some prejudices, but it's actually to your advantage. If you go look for the roles that you're good at, it's more likely that you'll be picked over not your culture.
I'll agree with that. Look, the way I see it is that when I've hired people, there is a degree of prejudice about what we want, but that's an internal thing, you know. Like, I've had support people work with me. I never say for me, I say with me, right? For some reason, I've always preferred to work with a female. Now the reason is because we get on well, we go and visit contractors, you know, and then all of a sudden we might go out for a coffee or something like that. It works for me, right? It doesn't mean that every guy who does my job needs to have a female support person, but it works for me. So you can argue that I've been prejudiced against males in that sense. So everybody's going to have their own prejudice, but you know, to answer Philippa's question, I think if you're looking at a long history, it's not going to matter. The person hiring may still have that prejudice within him. I don't want an Asian, I don't want an Indian. That could still be up there. But it's not going to, it's
not widespread.
no, no. If you've hired people in the past,
Yes.
and have you actually been totally open, saying I don't care, long as they've got certain skills, or you'd say I prefer a bit of this or that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
For particular roles, I say for particular roles.
Yeah.
Because there are people who are better at particular roles than others. And it will come through even in the CV. You see the difference.
Yep.
And often it's because of the cultural background that they excel in a particular area.
Correct. And you certainly have that as a basis based on your background, but you know that certain cultures are going to be stronger than others. You can also look at it from another aspect that, to my understanding, the Asian culture is a very, very hard-working individual, whereas quite often the Australians are perhaps not as hard-working. Again, it's an opinion. Don't take it to heart.
It's okay, that's a majority, yes.
I nearly got myself in hot water. Anyway, anybody else got any questions?
I would put it in because of the different environment.
Yeah.
A company in Asia expect you to work long hour. Australian company have a better policy
Very true, very
to
true.
provide the work-life balance.
And then they come over here, and
Yeah.
for work-life balance, I can touch on that some other time, but yes, I've certainly got some very strong thoughts on that. Yeah. Anybody else? Right.
You know, one of my observations is that, like immigrants, when they come here, they have a challenge for getting a first job. That's the greatest hurdle. Once they have experience, it's not so hard. Because I get a lot of requests from people trying to help them out. I feel that more challenges for the managers who are handling migrants, so that they have difficulty in holding on to their jobs. Because it's not only that getting a job is difficult for because of multicultural issues. The more issue is for the manager who are handling more number of migrants because of the outsourcing and all. Today they do not get a lot of the local workforce to handle. They get a lot of other people to handle, people with multicultural issues. And these are the things that probably the PMI has to address too, because otherwise there will be a lot of unity or whatever, the kind of a unison in which the organization can work will not be very effective. It's my comment.
That to me is a management issue.
Yeah, it's not a,
And you mentioned that the immigrants who come to get their first job is a challenge. Absolutely, absolutely. I've even suggested to people that if you're struggling to get your first job, don't be afraid to take a step down. Do something else, because you can only jump on Seek for 10 minutes a day. Because you jump on it 10 minutes today, it's not going to be huge different from 10 minutes yesterday, right? And the psychological effect on that is you get down, there's no new jobs, I'm back to where I was, and it's been the same yesterday and last week and last month. So my message is, and we touched on that today, that there is no shame in going to get yourself a lower level job. Even if you finished up getting your IT professional, say, and you go and get yourself a job at 7-Eleven, I deliberately bring that up for the sake of illustrating the point that if you get yourself a job, at least you get your mind occupied. You can drop 7-Eleven tomorrow if you get another job. And I think that's something which people need to do because they have difficulty looking after their time.
Plus you can get a
Steve,
job.
I think that's a place in which you get a lot of cultural exposure. In fact, I worked there.
Yeah, it's a question of interacting with people.
Yeah.
Certainly improving your the English language. If people, if English is a second or third language, it improves it. What does that do? That makes it even easier when you go to the interview for the real job that you want because you're communicating better. So it's not as crazy as it sounds to get a job where you're dealing with customers.
Okay, so my question is, when you end up getting any job which you find on very first day or second day, and you keep on doing for, let's say, 4-5 months,
Yep.
and when you approach to recruiters for your actual job, like your mainstream job, then the recruiter might think, okay, he has got Aussie experience, but that's in a different field.
Okay, I always
So-
look at that. Yeah.
In that situation, like, what will the mental pressure at the recruiter side?
I don't know what others would say, but I'll tell you what I would say. I would say, terrific. You've actually got off your backside and decided to get out of work until the right job comes along. And I have very, very high respect for that. Right?
Okay.
Other recruiters might look from the point of view, do you really want to become a project manager when you're at 7-Eleven? Okay, no. It's like, if you're not at 7-Eleven, you might be at home studying new technology on the internet. All right? You might be doing a Prince course, Prince 2 course or PMBOK or something like that. You're doing something. You're not sitting at home doing nothing. Okay? And that to me is the point. So whether your resume shows that you've worked outside your field or that you've been, in the last 3 months, you've been advancing your skill set, that to me is a bonus.
So that will take it as a bonus.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's fine. I mean, the other aspect to that is once you're in an organisation,
Yeah.
opportunities open up.
Correct,
So-
correct.
That's one I put forward to people as a really solid strategy.
Yeah.
Get into any job, into a company that has the jobs that you want, and then you just work from inside.
Absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes you can't, if it's a small organisation,
Yeah.
you're working for, you can't. But, maybe then it's time to move on. Small companies have a high turnover, large, like NAB, some people have been there for, how was it, 233 years or whatever.
Anna has been there too.
Just a quick question. With a lot of company outsource to Asian country,
Yep.
like India or whatever, do they actually tend to hire, Asian managers or not really?
If they're the best people, I'll hire the best people.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter.
No, I've actually placed assistant testing manager for whatever the equivalent of big roads is in Hong Kong. And he was an Australian testing manager and he was looking after 3 or 4 Hong Kong residents, right? He was the best person for the job, came down to that. So, But when they hired him, they had to go through, make sure he's a good culture fit for it as well.
What kind of culture fit are you looking? I mean, how do you describe? Because you have the client probably can't even express what their culture they want, right? How do you actually get it from them?
It's up to the hiring manager to actually explain the type of people they have, the type of work environment, and how they actually operate, right? And then he's got to make the decision whether this person is going to be sent over from Melbourne to Hong Kong.
Do you have a standard list of questions to ask the employer actually, that kind of information?
I ask a lot of questions when I take a job, or yes I do. But one of the important ones is culture. You see, you look around the room, and some of you have been brought up in the technical field. It doesn't matter whether you're programming in one language or another. But to actually move to another environment where you're actually starting to deal with people, it's a different ballgame. And so we do ask the culture. We do ask questions of how the person's going to work, what kind of people is the person going to be managing. So we can then share that with potential candidates.
Steve, I think, a lot of large corporates, they do a cross-cultural orientation to the hired managers.
Really?
Yeah, they do that actually. And there are professional bodies who can do this course, say 1 week intensive course, so that it even starts with how to use knife and fork. Fundamental things actually.
Which
from
company
Asian
is that?
It is there. I'm telling you, the large IT companies in India.
Oh, in India.
I'm talking about that.
Okay, from India.
And when they send people overseas.
Yeah, okay.
And also that when they have people, for example, Infosys, when they get people from here, large kind of things and all, they have a kind of induction program in Infosys for the managers who come from overseas,
Yeah.
to understand the people better.
Actually, Infosys is right.
There's a question at the back.
Well, I just want to add a couple of comments,
Sure.
just to share some experiences with people here. I reiterate what you said, Steve, about actually bringing the best in you in marketing yourself as a potential employee. So don't be shy to mention what you do in terms of hobbies or any other activities, even if you are reading a special type of novels or whatever.
Absolutely.
Because some of these skills actually people will look for it. Oh yeah. The other thing is if you are rather than working for 7-Eleven, maybe for money, that's good. But you can do some voluntary work with a number of organizations, Engineers Without Borders. I'm sure the IT industry has some volunteering, PMI, for example, because also you can say that I've worked on this project.
Yes.
And I have a personal experience. My son was studying engineering, and he was doing some voluntary work as actually with Engineers Without Borders. And that helped him to get the next job and move on, things like that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I think, just in addition to what was mentioned before about language, for example, is it to your advantage or not? Also, show what you know and skills. For example, 13 years ago or whatever, I was called by an engineering manager. He wants to send me to Saudi Arabia, and he asked me one question. He said, "Do you speak Arabic?" I said, "Yes, I speak Arabic." I said, what that has to do with the job? He said, "Oh, don't they speak Arabic in Saudi Arabia?" I said, "Yes, but you are sending me to Aramco, which is an American company." And eventually I got the job, of course. It was for a few months to test the system and hand over. But the people I was dealing with is British and American, So what I'm saying is anything in your resume can bring attention of potential employment.
One of the things that I tend to ask, and I do get a little bit, sometimes I overstep the mark and get a little bit personal, but I ask about hobbies and interests. Now, one side of me says, I don't really care, right? But the other side of me says, the reason I need to know that is because I'm a runner. I'm passionate about running. I'm a spin instructor. I'm crazy on gym work, right? So I'm mad on sport. It's not about having something in common with me. But if I know what your passion is, and then I send you for an interview, and when I prepare the client to meet you, and I say, by the way, he's a runner too, what that does, it breaks the ice. Oh, Steve told me that you do a bit of running. You do marathon running? Yes, marathon I do. Oh, okay, I'll run marathon. All of a sudden, forget about the job. You've broken the ice so you can actually relate. Okay? So to me, that's really important. Because it's better than going and sitting down and saying, right, let's go through your resume. You've been at this company for so long. You just get all uptight about it. You get nervous. You can't be yourself. All of a sudden, you start talking about something that you've got a passion for, and you've got something in common, or even if the person just wants to know about it, you feel more relaxed. So that's a very good point.
Can I just add one more thing? I interviewed people and part of my job to
Yep.
employ them and things like that. What we do in our organization is we have 3 questions to ask ourselves when we're trying to decide. Can they do the job?
Yep.
Will they do the job? Can they fit?
Yep. That's basically what it
And
is.
practically bring in your resume an answer to these 3 questions, or your covering letter or whatever. I'm sure Steve can
Well,
help with that.
Those are the questions
Yeah.
which I ask after the interview. When I debrief the candidate, right, do you have a good understanding of the job? Yes, I do. Can you do it? Do you wish to do it?
Yeah.
Right? How did this sound culturally? Now, keep in mind, we're only talking about perhaps a 1-hour interview, so there's only so much that you can absorb in 1 hour. But they're the relevant questions. I'll finish up because I think I've overstepped my mark as I usually do.
Just before we break into groups, I just wanted to ask if everyone just could have a quick round about just to say your name and which country you're from, if that's all right. Just want to get a feel of the diversity.
So, hi, my name's Anna Liu. I'm original from Hong Kong. I live in here for about 5 years, something like that. And this is the only place I work, so I don't know any other places.
Hi, Stewart, originally from Malaysia. Has been here for about 9 months, okay?
I'm Andrew, I'm from Australia.
The odd one out.
Hello everybody, I'm Tarun, I'm from India. I've been there for 8 months now, working with the ASIP.
Ranga, working from India, been here for last 12 years.
Rango is actually one of the original champions of the mentoring program. So just right there.
Hi everyone, my name is Muthu. I'm from India. I've been here in Melbourne for the last 4 years.
Hi everyone, I'm Mohidin Mus. I'm from Brunei. I've been here for just 2 years.
My name is Faiz Othman, originally from Jordan in the Middle East, I guess, and been in Australia for 21 years.
You're a Middle Eastern representative for tonight. And we've got a couple
There'll
of...
be nobody in that group, I guess.
Yeah. And you, Bala?
I'm Bala. I'm from India. I'm here around 9 years.
Yep, beautiful.
Philip, I'm from Australia,
And Philip has travelled around Western Australia here, so...
recently, yes.
Yeah, and...
They are from overseas as well.
Hi, I'm Shani. I'm from India and I've been here for nearly a year.
Okay, yep. Yes.
And I was born in Hungary.
Well, you
Yeah.
Well, that's something interesting about you we didn't know before.
Yeah, I was born in Hungary, here from the age of 3.
Yep.
It's
That's
good
great,
as an
we've got
Aussie,
that
I
balance
guess.
between the people who have lived here. And you there?
Clive Pereira, I've been from India, been here for the last 15 years,
Yep.
and pretty much worked in Asia Pacific a lot.
Okay.
I'm on Simasinakam Shankar and I've been here 10 years.
Okay, no worries. Did you want to say where you...
I'm from Australia.
I'm from Pakistan. And for 4 years.
Okay. And I'm actually from Singapore, but I've been in Melbourne for 3 years and I've lived in Australia for about 15 years. So we've got a good mix between people from overseas, people from within Australia, you know, and that's what we wanted, to have that that difference between the groups of people that had lived within Australia, the groups of people that come from overseas recently, the groups of people who have come from overseas who have lived within Australia for some time, you know, that gives all the variety of opinions that would be very rich and to generate fruitful discussion. So as if we'll be passing around these little sheets for us to all discuss. It's just broken into little sections, one for employees and the second one for employers, just talking about multicultural issues. We'll be, you know, everyone will just be breaking into groups, discussing issues like this. It's not meant to be just these questions, it's sort of the conversations from your own personal lives that you can draw on some of the experiences you may have in regards to multicultural issues like challenges, job hunting, or even having been a manager. So think about it, brainstorm, and we'll get back together in about 15, 20 minutes or so.
Did Ranga want
Okay.
Did Ranga want to say something? Did you want to talk?
So I'm just going to do passing
I've been here for a while.
Oh, yeah?
You're joining us?
No, I'll drop you.
Yes, love.
Has some of the
this question to Steve so that he can answer on my behalf.
I didn't have a.
That's what I did.
Okay, fine.
That's all right.
I guess maybe just multicultural work environment. What do you find interesting?
Well, it was open to, it's been advertised.
So what's
I found it really difficult.
If you want me to get ideas for this.
So, just so that, people trying to find a job,
so
but, so I found it very challenging.
Did you want to
join that group there? Because
Okay, fine. The type of people in a
Because when I went through that initial phase when I didn't have a job for almost 30 days in a year, saying I used to work like 16 hours a day, even applying